How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, today I'm going to do a video about the supposed super prison that's been earmarked for Baglan near Port Talbot in Wales, South Wales. There's actually a conference on this in August and in Llanelli, which is about 15-20 minutes away from Baglan, from Port Talbot, right? And what it is, right, it's this super prison that's been earmarked is going to be a Cat C prison holding, I've seen figures about 1,500 people, right? At a cost of, it's going to cost about 212 to 250 million pounds and stuff to build this new prison and stuff, right? But the thing is, right, like, obviously I'm against prisons because prisons are actually counterproductive. They don't work. People going to prisons with having never taken drugs in their life and are leaving drug addicts. People are going to prison having never taken drugs and leaving in body bags because they've overdosed on a substance, because they've been peer pressured into it, they've been bullied into it, or they've been spiked, right? So like I say, there's a lot of these Welsh Assembly members down and these rural councillors down in Port Talbot and down in Baglan, close to Port Talbot, stating that, oh, it's a good thing, it's going to bring jobs to the area and stuff. Right, the thing is, right, obviously when I look at this, I've looked at it from a political angle, right, and I've also looked at it from a former prison's perspective, which is actually a good way to look at things, because like I say, from the prisoner's perspective, right, obviously having known what goes on in prison and stuff, right, it's been well documented that there's a lot of congestion around junction 41 of the M4 motorway. This is close to where this prison's earmarked to be built, right, when it goes to vote and stuff, right? Now there's a lot of schools and everything, businesses on this industrial, there's an industrial estate, and there's also a lot of schools and things like around that area and stuff. And there's a lot of locals, there's a lot of family businesses and stuff that have been there for decades and stuff. They're all gonna, if this prison goes ahead, they're gonna actually close down the business or move elsewhere, or they might retire, I don't know. But like I say, that shouldn't be happening. That's disgraceful. The Ministry of Justice, right, what they do, they've got a way of enforcing what they want to do onto people, right? And obviously these things seem to find their way in, like they seem to get passed, and then the prison would be built. But I'm hoping to God that the people of South Wales and everything, whether you're from Baglan, whether you live in Port Talbot, whether you live in Llanelli or Swansea, I want everyone to come together to try and defeat this motion and try and beat this the juggernaut that is the Ministry of Justice, right? As well, and then you, like I say, as a prisoner, right, I know, right, because obviously, like I said, there's been a lot stated about the congestion that's already there, that's bumper to bumper, right, near this prison, where this prison's going to be built, right, or due to be built, right. And the thing is, right, then you add in like 1,500 prisoners, right, and then you've got staff, right. So what you've got is, obviously, and then you've got prison vans obviously going up and down the motorway and stuff, dropping prisoners off at the prison, picking the prisoners up, taking them to court, taking them back, right? Then you've got, on top of that, you've got friends and family they're going to be visiting, right? So that's going to add to the already bumper to bumper congestion, right? Then you've got the within prisons, right, the suicides. It's well documented now within the media and stuff, on the back of the Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons report, that there's 26,000 violent assaults, there's self-harms at an all-time high, suicides are at an all-time high, sadly. But what that's going to bring, that's going to bring more congestion, because our ambulances go to prison several times a week, right? So that's another thing, right? And then, like I say, you've got people going on the school run and stuff. Then you've got traffic that might be going home or returning home after work or going to work and stuff. Then you've got friends and family that are going to be visiting these prisoners added into the mix and stuff. Congestions, carbon emissions, everything's going to go up. Like I say, and then you've got to look at the congestion with the ambulances and things like that. So prisons are not good places, right? Prisons, personally, I feel that Baglan will become an area of where prisoners are just dropped on them, right? Well, it's like a dumping ground for prisoners, if you will. Now, like I say, I've seen a lot about, like I say, I'm from Manchester, guys. I don't really need to bother about a prison in South Wales, right? But because I'm speaking to people that are against the prison and stuff, and they're very passionate people like George, I won't reveal his last name, Claire, and a high-profile former prisoner, a guy by the name of Michael O'Brien, who I've spoke to at length. He's an absolute gentleman. For those that don't know, he was one of the Cardiff Three, the Cardiff Newsagent Three. He spent 11 years and 43 days in prison, despite the fact he was completely innocent. Police corruption, police stitch-up and everything like that. He ended up spending 11 years and 43 days in prison. He's not even got a criminal record, this man. He's an absolute gentleman. His heart's made of gold. Same with Claire, same with George, right? These people are they're very proud and stuff like that. Claire and George are both... Claire and Michael are both born and bred South Wales and stuff. Very proud Welsh men and women, respectively. And also George relocated to Wales after serving in the army and stuff. So, like I say, I've seen a lot that these Welsh Assembly members are saying, and these rural councils and stuff like that, as well as the fact of obviously the carbon emissions, the high volume of traffic and stuff, and this eyesore of a prison that's going to be enforced upon these people of Baglan in South Wales. That's going to make these businesses close down and move elsewhere and things like that. The people that have lived in Baglan all their life and worked there and stuff and got these businesses set up, right, are going to be wiped out because the Ministry of Justice want to enforce a prison on them. It's disgusting. It's their area. These people live there. These councillors and stuff, these rural councillors, these Welsh Assembly members, they need to listen to the actual people that live in the area and stuff like that. I've seen a big problem as well within South Wales where there's a lot of drugs knocking about. Obviously, it's an epidemic everywhere, right? But within South Wales, there's a lot of drugs and vagrants and stuff, homelessness and drug addicts and stuff like that around the streets. Now, when these people get out of this prison, right, not everyone in prison has friends and family on the outside, right? Some of them literally have got nothing, right? When they leave, they're kicked out with £46 and they might be given some bus fare or a travel warrant. Now, these people might think, you know what? These prisoners that are going to get out of this prison might think, you know what? To get away from everyone I've ever known or to go back to being homeless in the area where I was and go back to taking drugs and everything else as a coping mechanism, they might just dump themselves in Baglan. They might leave the prison and they might think, you know what? I'm gonna live in Baglan, or I'm gonna live in Newport. Sorry, not Newport. I'm gonna live in Baglan, or I'm gonna live in Port Talbot, right? And like I say, it's gonna go on, guys, right? So then you've got people that are gonna leave the prison system, right? Like I say, not everyone's got friends and family. So if they choose to stay, they might think, you know what? It's all right around here and stuff, and then they'll stay there and stuff. They're going to have no accommodation, so then they might start being homeless. They're going to be homeless and stuff, and they might start knocking around with other drug users in the area. Because prison doesn't reform people, it doesn't work, it doesn't rehabilitate people. There's a very, very high, well, near certainty that person is going to resort back to crime. Now, that will then mean that the crime rates for the people of Baglan, for the residents of Baglan and Port Talbot, is going to go up. And it goes on, guys, like I say, with fewer police on the streets, right, and with the fact that Wales is quite rural for the most part, right, and there's fewer police on the streets, right, crime's soaring, right, so it's going to fuel crime within that local area as well. Because it's a dumping ground for prisoners and stuff. People that go into prison go in broken, right? They leave in a lot worse state than when they've gone in. Drugs are rife within prison. You've got new psychoactive substances like spice, and like I say, these people. When these assembly members and these rural councillors are saying, "Oh yes, it's a good thing the prison for Port Talbot, it's a good thing for Baglan," right? They're not. These people, they live in bubbles, right? They don't see the real issues, right? These MPs, they live in bubbles, right? They don't live in the real world, in my opinion. They're out of touch with society and what the working class want and need and stuff. And like I say, I think they see the small picture. They don't see the big picture. Definitely not. I've been in prison. I know what I'm talking about, and I know the effect it will have. Right now, like I say, you put, and then I'll go back to the prison issues. Right, so there's going to be 1,500 prisoners going to be placed in this Cat C prison if it goes through. Right now, and then you've got I've seen figures bounded about 500 officers. Right now. So that's a prisoner for every 3 prisoners for 1 prison officer, right? Roughly. But that'll, I don't know if that number's correct or not. But then what's the problem within prisons? I've already gone over it. Suicides are at an all-time high. Violent incidents are at an all-time high. Self-harm. A lot of people in prison have got mental health problems, right? So the thing is, the local NHS, their local hospital in Port Talbot, nearby, like close to Baglan, is the A&E's been closed down, right? So they've now got to go to another hospital, which is further away. But the thing is, what I'm stating is, because of these slashings and because of these 26,000 violent incidents that take place in prison, and self-harm and suicide and everything like that, and attacks on prison officers and prisoner-to-prisoner attacks and stuff, and like people attacking each other, mental health people lashing out because they're chemically imbalanced in the brain and stuff, and they've got serious mental health issues. That's then going to put a strain upon whoever the local NHS, whoever the local like doctors and hospitals are in that area. They're going to have to account these 2,000, like 1,500 prisoners and 500 prison officers, right? When these attacks take place and stuff, and you've got some very dangerous, violent, volatile prisoners in prison, that then is going to be that's going to be enforced. That's going to come under the local NHS. That's going to put a strain on an already stretched, overstretched, massively understaffed, massively under-resourced, skeletally staffed hospital, right? And it's going to go on, guys. Like I say, people in prison have surgery, they get attacked, they've got they need stitching up, they've got this problem, they've got that problem, they need to be mentally health assessed and stuff. Slashing, suicide attempts, self-harm, overdosing on drugs, all that's going to go onto the local hospital and stuff. They're already beyond stretched, right? And this is just going to make the problem very, very, very much. It's going to make it a lot worse. Mark my words. I know what I'm talking about. I've been in prison, and I'm looking at it from a political standpoint and stuff like that. Now, like I say, we don't need more prisons, right? There's 4 prisons, right? Super prisons that have been earmarked, right? You've got one in Rochester in Kent, one in Yorkshire near Full Sutton prison. I don't know if it's an extension of that prison or another prison. One in Hindley near Wigan, and then this one for Port Talbot in Baglan, right? Like I say, the prison. The Ministry of Justice can't staff the prisons they've got. Right? Now, £1.3 billion that's been earmarked for these 4 prisons, right, could be so much better, like, put to practice by investing that money in the current broken prison system. Recruit more officers, give them a pay rise, right, and then upgrade the prisons that they've currently got, right, and then invest in reward well-behaved prisoners. With skills training, qualifications and stuff like that. So upon release, they actually stand a second chance when they get out of actually bettering themselves, gaining employment, and paying tax back into the system and stuff. I've got a lot of ideas, guys, with this and stuff like that. Like I say, I'm a thick, uneducated kid, but I speak actually a lot of sense and stuff. I might ramble on and stuff sometimes, but I'm actually like very articulate and come across very well and articulate subject matter very well. Like I say, there's a lot to be said. If the government and the Ministry of Justice listen to prisoners and stuff, building more prisons, there's simply one thing that the Ministry of Justice are talking about: decreasing prison numbers, right? Rehabilitation taking place and reform taking place. Reform and rehabilitation, right, doesn't take place in prison. The only person that can rehabilitate yourself is you. Now, being locked in a cell for 23 hours a day, right, depending on what prison you're in, because prisons have got different regimes and stuff, right, that doesn't help you. If anything, it makes it worse. Prison starts mental health problems, and a lot of people are entering prison with already severe mental health problems and stuff. And like I say, then you add into the mix illegal drugs, prison alcohol called hooch, psychoactive substances and stuff. I've seen the death and the despair and the carnage within prisons and stuff, and like I say, that's going to be enforced onto the local NHS, right, which they're not going to, trust me, mark my words, if people vote this prison to go through, right, it's going to cause severe problems for the local NHS. It's going to increase the congestion in the area. Carbon emissions are going to go up. Ambulances are going to be frequently seen on the M41 motorway around Junction 41, going to this prison and stuff. And like I say, then you've got the fact of when a lot of these prisoners leave that prison, if they've got nowhere to go, i.e. they've got no friends and family, so what's some point in going back to London or going back to Birmingham or Manchester or Newcastle or Scotland? Some of them will just think, you know what, I want to stay here. I want to stay here, and they're going to camp down there. And then, like I say, that will then fuel, crime rates will go up, drug use in the area will go up, you'll see more homeless on the streets and stuff. Believe me, guys, do not vote for this prison. This prison's a very, very, very bad idea. Please listen to me, guys. I've been in prison. I know what I'm talking about. Like I say, right, I'm going to leave this video here. People of Baglan and Port Talbot and stuff, right, please, everyone in South Wales, go against this prison. Right, please turn out to the conference and have your say and speak out. There's going to be Welsh Assembly members there. There's going to be rural councillors there, Plaid Cymru representatives and things like that. Right, guys, going to leave it here. Like, comment, subscribe. Speak to you all soon.